nobody's perfect. And this week, that's what we're going to be talking about. Learning differences, mistakes, and why is it okay to not have it all figured out. I'm Hortense, your host for this week's podcast, and I'm here with...
Miskin.
Brendan.
Michael.
Okay, I hope you guys are good, doing good.
Yes, thank you.
The first question is a really simple question, straightforward. What does not being perfect means to you guys?
Being normal.
Yeah.
You know, it's very sort of normalized, especially now that no one is perfect. Mm-hmm. You always try your best, but obviously everyone has a few flaws or two. And while some people try to not have that happen, you know, it still happens.
For sure. What about you, Michael? What do you think?
I'd actually say quite the opposite. I think not being perfect is about your imperfections and your differences from everyone else, because that's what makes you who you are. And even though that might not make you perfect, it makes you different from everyone, and it makes you special and makes you you.
It's like your uniqueness, isn't it?
Exactly, yes.
No, not being perfect is your unique. It's your superpower. Mm-hmm. Your imperfections are your superpower.
Yeah, superpowers. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think we should start this podcast saying it is impossible to be perfect, and as much as you can try, you will never be perfect. And I know it can be frustrating, because I know people really like everything to be perfect and sorted out. But as Miskin was saying, it is some kind of superpowers. Would you guys want to share a time where you kind of did a mistake or something that was not perfect, but that actually told you a good lesson in the end? I'll let you guys think a bit about it. And I'll think myself too.
I'll go first, okay. I've got loads. I'm a lot older. Hey, I've got a lot. But I'm dyslexic, so talking in front of people, even as a teacher, I make mistakes all the time, but I hold my hand up. And the students know that it's me and it's my uniqueness. So, you know, it'll be in the class, I get button put, still get it wrong. Mm-hmm. But I know that's who I am. And for the students to see that, I think is really important. So for me, making the mistakes is important. You learn from it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I'd agree completely that mistakes, whenever I make mistakes, it does help me to learn, whether it be in a lesson, for example. If I make a mistake and I didn't know how to answer a question before, and then I learn what the right answer is for science questions, for example, then you learn from it, and then you learn more, but not only in class, whenever you make mistakes in life and outside of school. It doesn't bring you closer to perfection, but it helps you grow, and it helps you learn from those mistakes.
My interpretation of mistakes is kind of strange. I don't really believe in mistakes. I think that everything that happens is meant to happen, and that leads up to a certain outcome. So instead of looking back at the things I've done wrong as a mistake, I think, okay, I'm not even going to think of it as a bad thing. I'm going to think, how can I change that? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to even title it as something negative. Just keep it moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, my little story, I'm sorry, it's again going to be about school, but as Miskin was saying, I have a big baggage with me too. I'm dyslexic, dyspraxic, and dyscalculic. And obviously it's something really hard when you get to school, because you have to work with it. And since I've always had this since my youngest age, I had to deal with it. And at school it was quite hard, and I didn't know how to study, because obviously it doesn't mean to be stupid. It means to have a different kind of intelligence and just work a different way that other people might work. And it was really hard for me for example, learning techniques and everything, because none of them would work for me, I felt like. And I got bad grades in exams again and again and again. But then that really told me how to work even more. And I'm improving, and I think that's not a mistake, but something that told me something else.
That's great.
That's really good. I think nowadays, and I'm, especially being a teacher, I think the way culture is, people are scared to make mistakes. People are looking for that perfection because of social media and things. So it's good that we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm. So what is one misconception that people often have about students with learning differences? I'll ask you this because you're a teacher,
Yeah, I think...
you guys can answer too.
Yeah, I think, working as SENCo, so Special Educational Needs Coordinator, for 11 years now, long time. And I find it a lot, especially with society, they see learning differences or disabilities as the other language. And it's that misconception that they can't do something that, you know, they're never going to achieve because they have this label. But actually, the term I used before was, superpowers. And learning differences are superpowers. Our brains work differently. Everyone's different. And it's trying to go away from that stigmatization of that, you know, if you've got a learning difficulty or difference, that you can't do something, that you're not able to, but you're going to make mistakes and learn from it. So that those misconceptions are quite tough.
And why do you think people have misconception? Or I don't know if you guys heard this, but once again, because I'm in that case, I've heard a lot about it. And often parents don't really want to see it. When their kids get it, they're like, no, like that's not it. It must be something else. So why do you guys think it's like that?
I think the reason why parents are scared of it is the same reason that everyone else is. People look at it as sort of like learning levels. I don't think it's like that. No one person is above or below another. One sort of flaw that I sometimes see about school in general is that it's trying to have one size fit all. That's not how it works. Every person is different, and every person develops at different speeds. Every person learns differently through different methods. So I think when a school tries to teach everyone the same way and struggles to teach one other specific student because it doesn't fit that size, it's frustrating because you're trying to teach someone one way, but it just doesn't work.
What do you think, Michael?
I'd have to agree. I feel like with a lot of learning differences, there's like smaller percentages of students that might have that, which makes it more uncommon, and lots of people didn't know how to handle it. And over time, that has just created this sort of negative view of like not knowing what to do in that situation. But it doesn't mean that the person is less in any way, that they can't learn. It's if a parent finds out that their kid has that, it's going to happen to someone, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't make your kid any less. You just have, they're just going to need to learn in different ways, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think parents or even people in general, we're really scared of differences. And unfortunately, we're seeing 2025, but hopefully in the future it will improve. But I think, people are really scared of differences. And when they see that their kid is like not like everyone, they kind of see it like, oh, like difference. I'm a bit scared and everything. But yeah, I really agree with what you were saying. At school, it can be really hard because, and I think it's also hard for the teachers because they have maybe 20 people in a class, which, how do I say that? Like, that work normally, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they might have two other kids that are dyspraxic or that have dyslexia. And it's hard for them because they have to talk like the class, but also these kids. So
I think there's a lot of awareness nowadays. I know for the 11 years of being SENCo, I've noticed a huge difference. And, you know, we are more open to those differences, and we're, you know, more open to accept those differences and see those students as not misbehaving, that there is an issue, and then we do need to step up. And you know, it's a slow process, but we're getting there.
I know, it's good. So do you think that schools focus too much on grades instead of how students actually learn? And like, they focus too much on, your grades instead than, basically the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because,
I'd agree.
It's something also when we're like, now that we're applying for all these universities, since we're in the higher years, I'm looking at these exams, and every time I do a past paper, I get something wrong, and I'm like, I know I can do this. If you were to ask me outside of the exam, I could completely answer it for you. And I know that it's all about the different scenarios too, and the different people and the questions that they're going to give me depending on what they ask. It's there's so many different factors that make it up, and I think that does affect the way that we learn because of these exams. That's what they're looking at. But if you were to ask them in different ways, they might be able to answer your questions better. Or there's a lot of pressure on exams, and it's not it's not the only way to measure how well a student knows a different topic.
100%.
So I'm a very interactive learner. So my sort of favorite way of learning is by interacting with surroundings, not just looking down at a piece of paper and doing work. You know, that feels very monotonous to me, and it doesn't feel inspired. It doesn't feel motivational. It just feels robotic almost. So when I'm put in an exam and I just have a paper in front of me and a pen, I think a lot, and I spend a lot of that time thinking and not writing. And I do 2 essay subjects, so that can be a little detrimental sometimes.
It's a hard one because I'm a teacher. But no, coming from where, putting my SEN head on, I do think there's so many children that learn differently, so we should be assessing differently. And I think we do in the classroom. I know we do have exams, but in the classroom, there are those different ways of learning, and there is those different ways of assessing. So as teachers, we're seeing it, but then it is difficult for those students then to sit an exam and that's when I have to step up and say, well, actually, let's give them extra time. Let's look at this and finding different ways to help those students. But I do agree in terms of, I think education needs to be looked at a little bit better and having a look at what are the other ways we can help these students that can't actually sit exams. Yeah.
This might be a bit controversial, but I am a big, how do I say that? But I'm against exams, kind of. And I don't want everyone here to think that I'm against exam because I need to study and everything. No. But I was talking about it with Brandon actually the other day, but how, for example, in geography, right now you could ask me anything and I'm sorry, I'm like kind of, showing off, but I've learned so much and I actually studied so well. So I know my stuff, but then in the exam, I still didn't do as well as I wanted to. And I think we should find, for example, in France, they have this thing which is called if I translate it, it's the big spoken exam, which is a speaking exam, but you talk about what you know. It's not like a speaking exam, like in a language. You actually talk about stuff you learn, and it's not just you writing on a piece of paper. And I really would like more schools to have that because I think it's way better because for some reason, and I have to find out sometime, but in exams, I don't know, for me it just doesn't work very well, and yeah. But, so I'm asking this again, but how is it like as a teacher? Is it really hard to find a balance and everything?
It is. I mean, I'm a specialist in SEN, so for me, it just comes off the top of my head because I'm that teacher that then helps train other teachers to be able to adapt their lessons. But it is, you've got, a high number of children in the classroom, and you've got to think about how every single one of those children learn. They're all different. How can I adapt my lesson to make sure they're learning? How can I check that they're learning? What other ways, instead of an exam, can I actually check their learning? So there's so much that teachers have to do when it comes to the planning. And the longer you're the teacher, as a teacher, you get to be able to walk into a classroom and just know how to do it. But if you're a new teacher, that's really, really difficult. So it's all about building those relationships with your students and knowing then how they learn and working with those students as well and building trust. I think that's really important.
I know.
Well as teaching.
And I was about to say, that's why I'm a big fan of ATL's grade. That's
ATL.
ATL. Because you can see how the student is in general, in normal conditions, not in a hall with so many desks, so many people with one piece of paper. You can see them during the year with their attitude and how they, for example, do their homework. And I think it's a more, how do you say it? More, oh my God, like a more accurate way to okay, you guys know what I mean.
It seems like you were saying, over the years, there's been a lot of improvement in all of these. And then, like you were saying with the ATLs and maybe this French exam you mentioned, that's happening, but it needs to still be implemented more and more for the different students.
No, it does. I mean, I know, going back when I was in school, we'd questions on the board, textbook, and that's how we learned. There was no looking at different ways of learning, whereas now as a teacher, it's come on leaps and bounds. We're doing so many different things in the classroom that are helping that learning. So it is important that we, continue that and keep finding different ways to help support students.
Yeah.
And I forgot to ask you guys, but do you guys have any, if I can say, differences, like ADHD or really bad social anxiety?
Not to my knowledge, no.
No?
Not that I'm aware of either. I mean, as I've run the STEM club, and I've also been tutoring for many years. I do have a little bit, not as much as you probably, but I have some experience teaching, and I've seen some students that have had some differences in how their learning process. And it's important to look at how they find it easier and adapt to help them learn their different subjects better. So.
And how was it for you, Miss, when you were a kid at school with dyslexia?
It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Sadly, when I was in school, I was in primary school, and I was doing really well in science and maths because for me it made sense. But reading and English really quite behind. My parents questioned it, and they were just told she'll get on with it, she'll grow into it, it'll happen. All the way through secondary, really struggled. I know when it comes to my GCSEs, we did coursework, which was a little bit different. You could actually get all your thoughts down. It was, we had that. I think that was more helpful. I think that helped me get my grades up. But for English, I thought, I'm not going to pass. We had this new teacher. She'd just come in for a year. Dr. Holland, her name was. She was brilliant. And she went through my coursework and got my grades up. And I got an A and A star, which what it was then, for English, which I never thought I'd get. But it wasn't until I went to university and I was training to be a teacher that I was diagnosed. So I had to find those strategies through school to help me. But my parents were great with that. I'm hats off to them. So it was tough, definitely.
Yeah. Well, my mom was kind of the same at school because I didn't get all these things magically. So my mom never got tested because it wasn't really a thing back then. But she most likely do have some stuff going on like dyslexia or dyspraxia. And at school she was getting called, there's this French word again, but there's no translation in English, but basically like dumb. And and all the teachers were really mad at her because she couldn't focus in class. So she was talking with people and teachers would get really mad. And then they were like, you can't get anywhere in life and you're so bad and you're so dumb and everything. So she had really bad experiences at school and look at her, now she's a nurse. So,
Yeah.
Amazing.
I know.
I always remember one I think it was year 7, English class, and we had to stand up and read, and I couldn't say the word gorilla. And it was that was it. I never wanted to read them out loud ever again. I was mortified. Horrible.
And okay, now to go back more on the path of more just imperfections in general, do you think that social media made everything worse about imperfections and not being perfect?
I sort of understand it because I'm not the most physically in shape. I do go to the gym, I do work out, but in terms of looks, I'm outside of the norm. And I do definitely think that social media does impact that. There's this one form of content called black pill content. It's basically just the obsession of looking really, really good. And it really enforces this idea that if you don't look good, you're going to struggle. Which, I haven't. So I'm fine there. But I do definitely find myself treated a little differently. Not all the time, obviously, because not everyone is evil like that. But I've had to focus harder on finding people who respect me more because of the fact that I'm not, athletic or,
It's I know that the social media is very often a bubble. And then I've known a lot of people where they've seen some posts about some models and they look amazing. And then their entire, their whole social media feed just becomes that. And that's all they get to see. And I've had times where my social media has been like that. And it does make you not feel so good about yourself. You feel like, oh, am I not living up to the norm? Because that's what they convince you that it is. But then there's also times that I have started seeing on social media a lot of people that are making some insecurities that people might have look good and say like, this is completely normal, everyone has this, or like if you have this, that's okay, if you have this type of body, that's all right too. And I've seen that pop up on my social media more as well, and I think that's great. And I like to then see if I can share that with more people to change the way that they're looking at things. But of course, that's still a very small part of social media, and we need to bring more awareness to that for people not just to be looking at these perfect bodies.
Yeah. Because your outside is not everything. It's what's inside that counts more.
Exactly.
And what you can bring to life. It's not just about looks.
Yeah, I fully agree with that imperfection and social media. I just want to empathize it again and again and again and make it clear to everyone who's watching us and to you guys that social media, you might think I'm boring and I'm, old. But social media is not real life. And I promise to you guys, you might think that there's this one influencer, oh no, but he's like someone from the gym. He actually shows gym content. He wakes up at 5 a.m. to go for a run and then eats granola or something. Like, guys, it's not true. I'm sorry, it's not true. And there is things going on too in their life. And maybe they have a perfect gym routine, but then maybe they got divorced last week with their partner or something, And it's nothing is perfect. And I think I think everyone experiences it. But as a girl in 2025 who grew up with social media, I think I really know what it is like to see Kim Kardashian and all these influencers, and just do not compare yourself to them because they're not true. And yeah, I just really want to make that clear because yeah.
I know my generation, we're thankful we didn't grow up with social media because we do feel sorry for everybody our age, definitely.
I know.
It's a tough time.
So, talking about imperfections, physical imperfections, what is one imperfection that you've learned to accept about yourself? If you want to share it. If you don't want to share it, it's okay.
Maybe a simple one is that I have a mole here. And when I was much younger, my mom has a similar one. I think it's a birth thing, but I'm not entirely sure. And I was thinking that, my mom mentioned you can get these removed. There's special surgeries these days. I was thinking maybe I'll do that when I'm older. And they did. We had our school photos a few years back, and they applied this filter to just get rid of a little bit of acne or something like that. And they ended up getting rid of the mole. And I saw my face, and it was so symmetrical. It looked really, really bad, and I hated it so much. And I realized that this part, it makes me feel like myself. I didn't recognize myself without it. So it was just maybe something that I've learned to accept. It's an imperfection, but I just love it about myself now.
It's part of you. Yeah.
For me, it's not really a physical imperfection. More, and this is going to get kind of deep. An imperfection in my personality. I'm very naive, and I'm very gullible and trusting, and with all the evil that there can be in the world, that makes me very susceptible to manipulation, which I haven't had the best experiences in the past, but I don't really view it as an imperfection, more just a personality trait. I hold out hope that I'm going to find someone that matches with that personality trait, someone that appreciates the trust that I put in them, someone that appreciates the effort that I put in them and doesn't just betray it.
Absolutely.
What about you, Miss?
Oh God, the list could be long.
No.
I mean, I'm on a diet. No, I'm joking. Well, from the youngest age I can remember is my ears. I've got stick out ears. I know they're only little, but they're sticky out. And when I was 17, I was meant to have the operation to have my ears pinned back. And then I'd come into school after my consultation, and one of my male friends said to me, "Oh, no, I love your ears. I just want to put them in a pickle jar at the end of my bed." But just from him saying that was it. It stopped. And then I was wearing my hair up. I used to wear my hair down. I have to be straight. And I think it kept one of my school pictures, talking about school pictures, whole school picture, and the way the sun was, I had my hair up in a bun. You could just see all the veins in my ears, and that was it. My hair was down. Always, but now I'm not bothered. And I think it comes with, but just one person said that one thing and it changed my mind.
Thank you to that person. For me, it is a bit like Brendan. It's not, I started having acne in 2023 when my family's genetic, they never got acne or anything. So I was really confused and I really did not like it, and I'm still struggling a bit today. Luckily, during summer, it goes away, kind of, but I'm always scared that it will come back in winter. So I'm still working on it, but then it's more emotionally because of what we were talking earlier about dyslexia and everything. It's a bit hard, but, I'm being positive, and as Miskin said, it is a power, so... So yeah, and there was something else, but I forgot. So maybe it will come back.
I'd like to say one more thing about what Miss Keane said. it's incredible because I've seen this with so many of my friends as well, where they've received one compliment about something that they haven't felt so secure about the whole time, and someone said it looks amazing, or they tell you how they like it so much. And it really does lift your mood. And that's something that every now and then I try to do, is I try to give more compliments. I try not to be awkward. If I see something someone has and I like it, I'll tell them. But that's maybe something also to the audience as well. Feel free to tell people if you like things about them, because then they'll also say that to you, and it helps boost everyone's confidence.
Yeah, being kind and putting a smile on someone's face.
Exactly.
Even just smiling at someone in the street really changes their day.
Sure.
You don't know what they're going through, so yeah.
Okay, I just remember what I wanted to say earlier, but for example, in 2023 again, I got a hair straightener and I thought it was so cool, and I started straightening my hair for a whole year, which damaged my hair a lot. And then I just felt really bad because I think hair does a lot on someone's look. So it was really bad and I really didn't like it, so I stopped using the hair straightener, but because I loved my hair so much straight, I started not liking my natural hair, which is really good in my opinion. So, but now I'm fine with my natural hair and I try to leave it. Obviously, from time to time, I straighten my hair, but not because I don't want to show my natural hair, but just because sometimes it's just nice, to change hairstyle. So I think that's something I've accepted. Who's someone you admire, not because they're perfect, but because they always try? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a very good question.
I don't really have one specific person. If I see someone that's somewhat close to me, or just anyone that is struggling, I will always offer them my help, because the world is difficult. It's a difficult world to be in. So any small amount of input that sort of changes that from slightly bad to slightly a bit better, I will do that. So it's not really just one specific person. Every time I offer my help or comfort to someone, I really admire that person in that scenario, because I see their strength and I see that they're trying to pull through in a world that can be so difficult to pull through in.
Absolutely. People that are struggling, they're some of the strongest people, especially because they're always pushing through. And if you're there for them, it really does help. And then maybe someone that I quite admire, maybe I'd actually say Miss Keena. It's very nice to say, because I remember when you first joined our school and you gave us this presentation in the hall, and I thought that was absolutely amazing, because to be honest, I hadn't heard anyone actually talk much at school about any dyslexia or any other differences before, and it felt very empowering to hear that, and that you had joined our school.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm doing another assembly coming up this Friday on dyslexia and ADHD. So
that's great.
Making it more aware. But no, thank you.
What about you, Miss?
I've got to say, my granddad, sadly he's not here, but he's always been my sort of inspiration. He loved languages, so from when I can remember, he was always learning languages. He spent a lot of time in Spain. He had a stroke. And even when he had a stroke and he couldn't use one side of his body, he was still going to German lessons. He was still getting up every Wednesday he went, and he was going, even though because of the stroke he didn't really remember much, he was just always did it. He wanted to keep learning. He just wanted to keep doing something, even though he was told that, actually when he had a stroke, we didn't think he could pull through. So he just amazed me that he had this, and because it was such a knockback for him. He was a golfer, he loved golf. So not being able to do all that, but he didn't just give up. He was off trying new things, even though his brain didn't work the same way. So he's always been my sort of inspiration.
That's amazing.
For me, I'd have to say my mom, because as I said before, she struggled a lot at school and still ended up being a nurse, which is really good. But I also want to say that you guys should have talked about yourselves. All of you guys should have talked about yourselves, because you should admire yourself, because as we were talking, we all make mistakes. You probably made a mistake yesterday. You probably made a mistake today. And it's okay, because you're still trying and you're still living life today, So I think everyone should be proud of everyone.
Thank you.
So we're running through the end of this podcast. And I have not a little game if I can call it, but I'm gonna name some famous personalities that have some differences. So to make people feel better and to make people know that they're not alone. So first, Daniel Radcliffe in Harry Potter, he had dyspraxia. Ryan Gosling, he's not dead. He has ADHD and dyslexia. Albert Einstein, believed to have dyslexia. Justin Bieber has ADHD and talked about really bad social anxiety. Billie Eilish has spoken about mental health struggles, including social anxiety. David Beckham, the footballer, has dyslexia. And Michael Jordan, the NBA legend, reportedly had dyslexia too. So guys, we're not alone. We're not alone. Everybody makes mistakes, and difference is not something bad, and it's something you should be proud of. So if you make a mistake, don't worry. It's your first time living life. We're all learning, and we never stop learning. So yeah, it was a great podcast with you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.